What do I think of Mob Psycho? Well, the music is great, the animation is cool, it's fast-paced but not rushed, there's no unnecessary panty shots or over-sexualization, the humor is hilarious and the emotion expressed feels so real. And yet, it's none of these things that I will be talking about today, because there is one thing that really separates Mob Psycho from other recent animes, and it's the same thing that separates Game of Thrones from other fantasy. For me, when it comes to anime, it's all about the characters. How likable are they? How relatable are they? Do they develop? And then in the end, are they consistent? The cool plot and the world it is set in is secondary, because there will just be a shallow shell without good storytelling. A lot of the time, when I think I have spotted a good character, I get completely turned off when all of a sudden they behave in a way that makes no natural sense, and I suspect it's just to get the plot moving in the right direction. The change the character goes through is just not believable, and neither is their excuses for their behavior. I also think it's okay to base the cast on a little bit of stereotypes, but the trope should quickly be proven superficial. Underneath, there should be a complex character that has a background that explains why they make certain choices and changes. Like how, for example, our first meeting with Jaime Lannister in Game of Thrones made him seem like an insensitive, evil Prince Charming, but he turned out to be one of the most likable and heroic characters in the show. I know, I've mentioned Game of Thrones twice now, and I swear this is the last. It's just because it's a popular show that most people have seen, and it's good for proving my point. Okay, so basically, a character has to be a mix of what you expect based on first impressions, plus an organic change that might surprise the viewer. What separates a great show from a good show is if on top of this, the character is relatable, even if you disagree with them. There should be no clear good and evil, because everyone has some good and some bad in them, and will always have a deep-rooted excuse for why what they do is right. The reason why I believe character quality carries a show is because their development can be used as a medium for proving a point, without seeming too didactic. Which basically means when someone tries to teach you morals in a lame, patronizing way. But by using well-constructed, complex characters to prove a point, you can do the opposite. You can show someone in a very human way what you think is right and wrong, and then they can empathize, because you actually showed them the issue, well, through a human being's perspective. You can also highlight an issue in society, or the result of the issue, so the viewer themselves can arrive at their own conclusion, rather than you simply telling them this is good and this is bad, or who was right and who was wrong. So now that we have discussed why characters are so important, I will explain why this anime is so great. Our first meeting with Shigeo Kageyama, nicknamed Mob, is a seemingly quiet, shy, average loser with no special interests or friends. The only thing out of the ordinary about him is that he's an insanely powerful esper and born with it. He is a little bit naive, and he becomes the sidekick and apprentice of the fake esper Arataka Reigen. Reigen is, unlike Mob, very good at reading people and situations, and uses this against them for his own benefit. He is extremely good at communication with others, unlike the socially awkward Mob. And this is what the show is really about. Mob isn't really Reigen's apprentice as a psychic, but rather his apprentice in how to be confident and improving as a person. And despite Reigen's seemingly manipulative and selfish behavior, he has a very strong sense of what is right and wrong. He is essentially Mob's guide through this moral journey, and rather than how to use his powers technically, he teaches him how to use it for good. Mob Psycho is unique versus other popular anime in this way, that the characters are very real and human. The heroes have real flaws that normal people have, rather than shallow ones such as being stupid and loud or stuck up and mean. Real human beings can be manipulative con artists and take advantage of naivety like Reigen, and still be very likable because they have more dimension to their character than that. I also think it's a fresh breath of air that the sensei isn't actually a master of what he is teaching. He's rather taking the fake it till you make it approach, something I'm sure everyone can relate to. I also like that courage and grit isn't the defining virtues of the protagonist. Mob Psycho uses Mob and Reigen's dynamic to teach us compassion through the eyes of flawed, awkward, but badass characters. And that is much more satisfying and believable than when someone super cool does it. Often protagonists fight evil because they want to help the innocent, yes, but why? And who is evil? Who is good? Through Reigen and Mob, we get to think about these questions together and discover them through the show, rather than them just being answered straight up. The whole show is literally about Mob's self-improvement, which symbolically is made evident when he chooses the Body Improvement Club rather than the Telepathy Club at school in Season 1, Episode 2. He is weak physically and wants to improve that, rather than choosing Telepathy Club, which is his natural-born talent. This, coupled with the best comedy I've seen in anime in a long time, along with badass animation and music, makes this show my favorite since Evangelion. Because just like in Evangelion, it's not really about the epic mech versus angel fights. In Mob Psycho, it's not really about the overpowered protagonist with cool psychic powers. Like we see at the start of episode 1 of season 1, and later explained in season 2 by Keiji Mogami, this show is rather about Mob's inner conflict of emotions, and improving as a person rather than just settling with what you're born with. So whether you're a full-blown weeaboo who consumes everything Japanese, you've never watched an anime in your life, or you're a self-hating closet weeb, yes, you should watch Mob Psycho, like, right now. It's a wholesome, epic, feel-good show that makes you reconnect with what it means to be a socially awkward and insecure teenager. It's also great if you love shounen, but you're sick of the unoriginality that often comes with it. Mob Psycho is a parody that instead of making fun of shounen, it highlights what is so lovable about it. Thanks for watching. This was Anger, the self-hating weeb. Peace.